Welcome everyone to tonight's session, which is an Ask Me Anything session with a few of our selected mentors who are here for you to help you to explore a few of options to answer your questions and to help you along with your projects and solutions. So how we go about the session today is that we have already collected a few questions from a few participants, and we'll probably start with asking them first. And then as the session goes along, we would like to invite you to ask you questions that you have for our mentors, may it be technical questions or business questions in the chat here. And then, we can start to answer them, and then we can also unmute you if you have like more elaborate questions to have an interactive, conversation. Small group today, so it should be fine for everyone to unmute themselves over time. That should not be a problem, I guess, today. So let's start, I would say, with the first couple of questions, right? I think Laurence, are you already around, or let me know then?
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect. Welcome. So today we have Laurence Kirk and Tom from Extropy joining us, right? If you have joined a few of our earlier workshops, webinars, you're probably familiar with Laurence and Tom. We are very familiar when it comes to blockchain development. And they are here today to answer your questions. We also will have Alejandro Banzas from IOV Labs joining us a little bit later. He's a little bit delayed. I just got word. So he is the expert for RSK IF technologies and should be joining us shortly. So coming to our first question for the night, Laurence, for you, which is, we know that you have, mentored and participated in many blockchain hackathons in the past, right? So what recommendations would you give to all the teams that are participating in the post-COVID hack?
Okay, so on the technical side, I would say make sure you find you're using the technology appropriately. So if you've decided on some particular technology that you think would be good, make sure that is a reasonable choice for the problems that you are going to solve. I think often, depending on the time you have in the hackathon, you may not be able to do everything you'd want to on a technical point of view, which is generally okay. I think the judges are usually understanding if you haven't got as far as you would like to, but you have a good understanding of maybe the architecture that is involved and where you would want to go. Other than that, I would say have clear in your teams, have a good team dynamic, have clear understanding of the roles that different people in the team is playing, make sure everybody is contributing well to the project. Be inventive. This is your chance to try lots of new ideas. So yeah, be inventive, be creative, and that also is good. Yeah, those are my tips, I think.
Yeah, it's great, great feedback. I think very helpful. And we start with a few generic questions, and then hopefully later we will move into a bit more specific, a bit more technical stuff. So start with the easy things and then move as we go along. The next question that we have is maybe for Tom this time. How do you determine what makes a good use case when using blockchain technology?
Yeah, I think that's a very easy one to get run away with, because blockchain, obviously, it's a very new technology into the world, and very new technology, very exciting. The possibilities are pretty much endless. I think a great way to try and reduce the scope of what you might do or what you might try is to draw from your own experience. So in your day-to-day life, think to yourself, when you have an issue with anything, whatever it may be, think, oh, is this a problem that blockchain could solve? Speaking with family and friends, and generally like draw from your own experience. So try and, I think it's because there's so many possibilities, it's easy to run away and think of something which is really wild and crazy. And although it might be a great idea in a hackathon, you've got a very limited time. And having your own experience, it means then you can focus, and you have a bit more passion as well if you're trying to do something to fix the problem for yourself almost. Or that it's much easier to get or have a more focused plan to solve the issue.
Okay, I think we're losing you here a little bit. Maybe the hotspot issue is not coming in. I don't know. Is it only me who's
I will stop my video.
Losing Tom here, or?
Yes, it was cutting out for me a little bit as well.
Okay.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Okay. No worries.
Oh, sorry guys. Yeah, I'll stop my video. That might help a little bit.
Thanks, Tom. We appreciate it.
Okay. Do you want me to reiterate anything? Did you catch most of that, or did I get lost?
Yeah, I think that was pretty good. I think
okay.
That's pretty good. Let's move on to the next question. We also have Alejandro Banzas from IOV Labs, who joined us just now. Good evening, Alejandro. Are you audible?
Hello.
Hey.
Yeah. How are you, everyone? Sorry for not turning on the camera. I'm in between Gibraltar and Malaga, going back home from a 2-day course that we were delivering in Durham University. So happy to be here. I'm sorry for this. I can put the camera, but probably I will be cutting a little bit.
No, that's perfect. It's a very nice ride, the highways between Gibraltar and Malaga.
Definitely. a lot of radar, so you don't want to speed up.
Okay, so next question for you, if you don't mind. Alejandro, what would you like to see in a winning project?
Oh, that's a difficult one, because I don't want to, yeah. I think the organization is trying to push the technology, not only from the technical standpoint. We are pushing scalability solutions, oracles. We put it together, smart contract for Bitcoin, probably you all know RSK. We put it together a couple of projects around different use cases. We're working, trying to grab, let's say, non-blockchain people to the blockchain through Taringa, that is the Latin American social network. But if I have to choose, based on what is the track that we are trying to pursue and what is the purpose of the organization, it's some use case or some solution that can help the unbanked to be part of the financial system. We are very focused on trying to put together a lot of technological stuff or building blocks to allow developers to build the open finance solutions. So we see open finance like it's, something bigger or something more that is embracing both DeFi and CeFi. Because it's not a matter of getting rid of the banks, but connecting the centralized financial system with the decentralized financial system to allow people that are currently outside the financial system to be part of it. So if I have to choose, not only because of the purpose of the organization, but my personal, let's say, inspiration or aspiration of this technology, I would try to see, or I would love to see a lot of solutions around financial inclusion.
Absolutely, yeah, your answer is perfectly tailor-made for financial inclusion. So as Alejandro is one of our judges, that's a small hint here for all the participating projects. If you build something around financial inclusion, you might get a better chance of winning. But I think
Yeah.
if we are honest, right, any good project should have a chance of winning, not just financial inclusion. Although I think I agree with what you said, the mission and the vision behind financial inclusion
definitely. I will of course judge, and I will try to select with the other judges the best project. You know, no, I don't want to be biased, but well, yeah, this is the time to show why are we, working together in this hackathon and why we are building this technology.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I completely agree with you on that. And I think that's what post-COVID tech at the end of the day is also all about, right? And I think financial inclusion is a big topic of why we do post-COVID tech. Cool. Moving on to the next question. Gustavo, thank you for joining us tonight. Are you audible?
I'm here. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, can hear you.
Yes.
Perfect.
Sorry for joining late, but I had connection problems here.
No problem. Now it's working very well. So Gustavo, you are our expert on socioeconomic inclusion. What would you like to tell our participants that are working on socioeconomic inclusion use cases?
Well, super interesting. Well, I noticed that Alejandro before we're talking about financial inclusion, but not sure if financial inclusion as such was defined already of this. You guys had that discussion, no? So in my view, when we are talking about financial inclusion, we need to talk about empowerment in the monetary system of the people that are more needed in that. Okay, we're talking about not changing from capitalist to a new kind of social order or whatsoever, but to enable people, to give them the tools in order to be able to coordinate themselves in their economic activities. Okay, money as such is just a tool for coordination. So I'm very much into social currencies. I'm very much into providing people the ability to create their own meaning of exchange. Okay, so we are pushing very much for this kind of solutions and for exploring what is there that blockchain and smart contract platforms can actually offer to communities to innovate in that space, and how they can create their own type of money, their own type of meaning of exchange, even if they use other assets, as could be a smart Bitcoin or REEF or stuff like that. There is a special couple of tracks in the hackathon where we're pushing specifically for solutions based on this kind of smart contracts that are called bonding curves. Okay, bonding curve is just a way to create a token out of tokens, out of other tokens. No, how to enable, let's say, liquidity solutions there where we are dealing with communities that have not liquidities per se, because one of the problems with the money, as we know, is that for having money, people for having Bitcoin, people for having REEF dollars, people for having any kind of the form of money that we have, they usually need money to have that money. Okay, so that's not very inclusive as such. Inclusion within communities is to create value out of their commitments, out of their agreements that they can do out of social beings, social groups. No? So this is what we are advocating for social inclusion in the blockchain space.
No, very interesting, and I think very well explained. Thank you very much, Gustavo. Maybe to give our participants some idea, some examples of what is going on in the socioeconomic inclusion side in terms of blockchain projects, around the world. Maybe you could share a little bit of either what PCH is doing, or maybe some interesting ideas or projects.
Sure. One very basic and simple example of economic inclusion, as we are defining it, is a mutual credit system. Okay, It's just an accountability system, a ledger in which people create credits and loans among each other. Okay, they maybe don't need any a new form of money in that between, but they just create loans. They create capacity of debt among people. For example, let's say that I can owe you, Richard, I don't know, $10 in this system, and then you owe me, no? So we both could have these two $10 credits, even if there was not a specific transaction. And then we do that also with other people, okay? So if you create that ledger of positive and negative balances out of people, and you allow people even to have negative balances in that network, you actually are creating a way in which people can exchange value among them. No, so that's very inclusive because they are not needing any kind of money from an external network, but people can eat, people can have their clothes, people can exchange different goods and services. That is very, very basic, okay, which is called again mutual credit. Another very interesting model that is related to this bonding curve stuff that I was mentioning before is a model created by a foundation which is called Grassroots Economics. Okay, look for that because their work is pretty amazing. Okay, and they create social currencies out of collateral value. They don't like to call it that way, but for me it's very, very easy to explain it. If we call it somehow on the collateralized a currency, okay, behind other kind of collateral, okay, but you under collateralize that only in terms of assets, which means that out of a bonding curve you can create, let's say, 100 social dollars out of 25 risk dollars, okay, and making a formula in that bonding curve in which at that state of the curve, one social dollar is equal to $1. But you need also to create some kind of social agreement behind that, you know, to assure that people around that economy will exchange value out of that, and even if they need some collateral value to go and face another external economy, they can do that by using that smart contract, no? So they can exchange value, and then the dynamics of the value, the crypto economics, then will be arbitraging around that price and keep somehow the stability in the economy. I'm not sure if it was very clear explaining that model in just 2 minutes with no backup materials. It's a little bit difficult.
Yeah, I think what you can do is if you have some links or something, you know, where we can read up a bit about that, that would be great. So you could share that and we can distribute it to all our participants.
Totally. Yeah, I will share it here.
Somebody's actually asked for the link, Gustavo. So if you could share that, that would be great.
Yeah,
if I could just kind of chip in with one other question.
Yeah.
This is for anyone really, but I guess perhaps maybe Laurence kind of point of view. What are the practical and legal obstacles prior to self-sovereign identity being adopted? You've worked on some projects in the identity space before, Laurence. So could you shed some light into that for us?
Yes, so a very interesting area. I don't know if anybody has used this in their projects. The ideas of decentralized identifiers, and we've worked with a company called Spherity, who that's a business. They're doing a lot of interesting work in that area. But yeah, one thing, the questions you have to think about, I think, with sovereignty, some of the I mean, we've been waiting for really good identity solutions for a long time. And I think when we get those, that will really open up a lot of possibilities. But some of the difficulties that we have are around things like, how do you, how can you easily and safely change your identity? So, if you've established an identity on the blockchain of some sort, how can you easily change that if you change either something relatively trivial like your address, or more major like your gender or something like that? So that's one aspect that is quite hard to solve, I think. And another one is, how do you go around? What would you do if you lose the control of your identity? If you've lost the key that establishes your identity, what mechanisms do you have to solve that? And then, yes, of course, on the legal side, it is going to be a problem that even if this is solved from a technological point of view, you will still potentially face problems if it has no legal standing. And sadly, the legal side of things, regulators, they tend to, they take time to integrate new technology and new ideas. And so it does take time for them to catch up with things. So I think that's, whatever we do from a technological point of view, there's always going to be something of a lag. But yeah, certainly I think if we solve some of these problems, even in small ways, it does potentially open up a lot of interesting possibilities for use of identity in blockchain.
It's almost like it's one of those technology within the blockchain space that could potentially become that killer app to help other use cases, yes, products, etc. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Laurence. Over to you, Richard.
Okay, thank you, Antonio. Feel free to chip in whenever you need.
Sure.
Perfect. Okay, I think we're having a few questions here from Kirill, so I'll just see who's best to answer them. So one of the questions Kirill has asked, is the hackathon limited to a predefined list of blockchain platforms, or is it completely agnostic? So to answer that shortly and precisely, Kirill, it is agnostic. You can work on any blockchain protocol you like and you have possibly experience. However, there are certain prizes that are a little bit better if you work with RSK and RIF technologies. So I'll later drop a link here in the chat, or one of my colleagues can do that, where you can just go to the prize pool and inform yourself, and then you can see if you want to use any of the blockchain protocols you're familiar with, or if you like to maybe learn a little bit about RSK and RIF technologies. And then obviously I can introduce you to one of the respective mentors for those technologies.
Yeah, and just to add to that, if you are working on a particular use case using another blockchain protocol and you would like to port that into RSK, we have a dedicated team from IOV who are more than happy to help you how to do that. So just reach out to myself or Richard. More than happy to put that introduction. And some of the guys are here today, so in this AMA session. So yeah, Richard is right. The prices are much more better if you somehow find a way to port that into RSK.
Okay, cool. And then let me just continue with Kirill's next question. I hope I pronounced that name correctly. What can be expected after the end of the hackathon? And is there a potential of collaboration with some organizations or any other means of solution promotion assistance? So that's a really good question, Kirill, thank you for that. So what you can expect, right, if you obviously come up with like a really, really good and interesting solution, and this solution is liked by some of the representatives of the blockchain companies we have partnered with for post-COVID tech, it is likely that these blockchain protocol companies are going to try to form a long-term partnership with you in one way or the other, basically meaning they try to, try to see what can be done together in terms of development on their chain. And we have a few interesting chains here that are working together with post-COVID tech, including, RSK and also QChain. So if any of those chains are of interest to you, and if they like you, there might be even opportunities for development grants later down the line. I don't want to promise anything, but definitely I know QChain has promised at least for one project to give development grants of at least 5,000 US dollars, can be more. And I know that RSK is also, very, very interested in doing that. So there are a lot of opportunities on that end. So, and maybe Alejandro, over to you. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on what, RSK would be willing to do on that end.
Yeah, definitely. As we did in several other hackathons, this is usually on a, let's say, one-to-one basis, depending on what are the priorities that we have in terms of technology, and if we see a fit your solution with our strategy, we will definitely, put a grant on the table. We'll definitely help all the projects in RSK to make the best out of the technology, regardless if it is part of our strategy or not. Here we have, for example, Brendan, Solange, and the rest of the team will be helping not only during the hackathon, but also after it. So definitely, we are looking for great developers. Even some of them, we have examples of people that are working with in our teams that were part of Peru hackathons. So you never know. It's if you find a solution, if you are a great developer trying to change the world with the technology, we'll definitely work together, no matter how. Then we will see.
Yeah, perfect. Ah, nice. Very nice background.
Yeah, and just to add to that, we have Tom from Mishkondareya who can't make it today for personal reasons. They are also happy to provide legal engineering mentorship and advice to a few selected teams after the hackathon. So so that's another really good incentives after the hackathon to go for.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I hope that answer was helpful, Kirill. If you have any more follow-up questions in that particular direction, please ping me on Slack or drop me an email. And happy to try to assist you in this regard. I see there's one more question from you, and I also would like to answer it because it's actually quite interesting question, right? And I hope I can also pass on parts of that question to one of our mentors. So question is, what are you looking for in a project? Is it like a somehow shaped product? Is it a well-elaborated approach or a technology with some POC, right? So shortly, what it is we're looking for is obviously an idea, right, that you can explain in 5 brief slides, right, in a PowerPoint deck, and plus like some technology POC would be good, right? And like as for the prices where there is where you need to use RSK or IF technologies, you really don't need to do much with RSK or IF technologies, right? If you just write a small smart contract or so, right? Or if you use the token bridge there, I think that would generally be considered enough of integrating with RSK or IFF and being considered for these fantastic prize pools, right, that are offered there. And yeah, I hope that really helps and answers your question. Here, Kirill, what is expected, right? You can easily read up of the requirements for your submission, but it's really just a very short slide deck plus a technology POC. That is really it, right? We don't expect like a full-fledged product from your end. Yeah.
Richard, can we also have Alejandro answer that question for us, if possible?
Absolutely, I think that's a great idea. Alejandro.
Yeah, so this is not a, let's say, a pre-COVID hackathon where we are all together for 48 hours without sleeping, you know, eating a lot of pizzas together in the same room. This is quite different. So somehow we are expecting more than, you know, the work or the delivery that you can do in a, let's say, normal hackathon. So we will appreciate proof of concept or you know, a little bit advanced piece of code. So apart from the slides and the ideas, this is in my personal view what I'm expecting from the teams. I know that we have a very talented group of developers joining us, so they will probably exceed our expectations. So looking forward to it.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
If I can just chip in there, Richard. So we have that. If we could just pick this question from Kirill, because this is for everyone, and then we go into Stefan question, and we'll pass it on to the mentors. Will it be possible to get an adequate assessment of the idea with constructive criticism, or maybe even advice before starting the actual work? So we do encourage this, and one of the other things that we certainly will be encouraging over the next few days is for anybody that are currently working on a project to submit what they have, so that we are indoors, as well as some of our mentors can take a look at the project you're working on and give you some direction into that. And now is the right time to do that, because we still have another month, just over a month before the deadline, submission deadline. So I would utilize the next couple of weeks to actually, you know, propose what you had for your project to be reviewed, and then based on the recommendations that we give you, you still have a couple of weeks to kind of polish that before you submit the project. Yeah. Thank you, Richard. And then maybe, Richard, if you can cover Stefan and pass it on to our mentors.
Yeah, so I'm currently thinking, because Stefan's question that I see here is fairly legal in that regard. And as we don't have Tom Grogan with us today, Stefan, would it be okay if I pass that question on to Tom in the Slack, in the legal advice channel where you're already at? Okay, awesome. I will do that. I will take you there, and then I think Tom is the best person to get back to you on that question. Cool. Coming to one of the questions that you know, we had recorded from people is, and I think it would be good for Tom or from Laurence from Extopy to answer. What would be a good project for blockchain beginners?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe Tom, Laurence.
Yeah. Hi. So it's a good question. Obviously, something quite simple and concise. It's just told me my connection is unstable, by the way, so hopefully you can hear me okay. How many examples that I gave for the kind of the tutorial of kind of a simple way to keep track of orders for a shop, like something practical, applicable, you can demonstrate with a nice interface, something which has a not too many levels to it, you know, does something cleanly. I guess the key thing of a hackathon is yeah, you want to impress other people, but you want to learn yourself as well, and a good way to learn something is to do something. So if you can think of an idea that is quite, compact, quite tidy in the way that it's presented, and it can do something, even just one thing very well, just focus on doing one thing very well. Don't try and change the world with it. And then you will learn from that. Like it's a good foundation for anyone to kind of stand upon. And it means then you will have ideas that grow from that because you know how to do this one thing. You will look back on your code after 2 weeks' time and think, what the hell did I do? Why did I write it like this? And you can think, oh, I'm so embarrassed, I'll do it all again. But that's all part of developing and moving on. Make sure you comment all of your code as well. I would say this just as another hint. Yeah, something small, concise, does one thing very well, and I think that's it's a great start to go from.
Yeah. Do you have any ideas, any examples that you could think of out of the blue, or anyone else, maybe Laurence? Or...
Yes, I would just, I mean, I agree with what Thomas just said. In terms of ideas, one thing that may be useful for people is if they look, here I'm talking about the Ethereum blockchain or Solidity actually, sorry. So that's placed to RSK as well. But look at, for example, some of the open source libraries like Open Zeppelin, which have complete examples of tokens, such as and also non-fungible tokens, and maybe using some of those could be the basis of something. And because this code has already been written for you, you don't have to go through that. It makes it easier if you're a beginner, and it may be that it also could be the basis of an idea.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. I think that's definitely very helpful. So yeah, and if you guys have any other questions, right? What kind of, if you're still not sure what to work on, if you're completely blank in regards to, what kind of solution to come up with, feel free to contact us, and we're really happy to, point you in the right direction. And then following up with another question, just checking, Brandon, are you audible? Can you hear? Can we hear you? There's one question which I think would be good for you, but I'm not sure.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep. Hi, everyone.
We can't hear you, Richard.
Sorry?
We can't hear you.
Not audible anymore?
Just a bit soft.
Okay. Let me try to get closer to that. The question we're having for you, Brandon, is what are the advantages of RSK over Ethereum?
Aha, okay. So I guess the obvious one is that RSK is cheaper than Ethereum in terms of gas costs. That's like the most quantifiable metric. And at the same time, it can do everything that Ethereum can. Specifically, on a technical level, it would be EVM compatibility. So all except for one opcode at the moment, EVM opcode, if I'm not mistaken, as well as JSON RPC compatibility. So all the dev tools work, the same smart contracts that are compiled and run on Ethereum also run on RSK, but it's much cheaper. So, more bang for your buck in terms of your deployment costs, as well as the fees that your users would have to pay. The second thing is that it's got better integration with the Bitcoin community, and that comes in two forms: merge mining with Bitcoin, as well as a two-way peg. So the RBTC, which is the native currency or the protocol level currency of RSK, is one-to-one exchangeable with Bitcoin. I won't go into too much detail, but the main thing is that it's compatible with, or it's more integrated with the Bitcoin community. And I'd say, just to round out the third one, is that with Ethereum, you've got like a smattering of different solutions that are I guess, community developed. And with RSK, you have more or less the same set of solutions for, you know, apart from the blockchain, what other decentralized technologies do you have? So we have a name service, RNS. We have a Rift storage, which is you know, decentralized file storage. We have an upcoming project for decentralized identity. Unfortunately, that will not be ready in time for this hackathon. And we also have Lumino, which you can think of as equivalent to the Lightning Network. So we've got all of these things, and they're all developed by the same, you know, like the same company, all under IOV. So they are tested together and work well together. Yeah, those are the three things that I would say, you know, set RSK apart from Ethereum.
Yeah, I think exactly these days, right? Cost efficiency, if you see on Ethereum network, right? I think having cost efficient options available is definitely a big plus. So thank you very much, Brandon. I think it was a great answer, really helpful.
No worries.
So my next question, I think any of Laurence, Alejandro, or Tom will probably be well suited to answer, is what are the most common mistakes when developing, or when that developers can do when building a product using blockchain technology? Sorry, I think there's a mistake in the question. So maybe we can start with Laurence, and then Alejandro, and then Tom.
Yeah, I think one thing people find difficult often if they're new to blockchain is to get the idea of decentralization, and the fact that transactions mean that your interactions are visible. So if you're developing a game, for example, you have to put extra effort if you want to keep the turns in the game secret from other people. So that kind of thing, just getting your head around those concepts is often the kind of problems that people have initially.
Okay, perfect. What do you think about this, Alejandro? What do you think are mistakes developers do when starting when using blockchain technology?
Well, I think the main difference, or if I have to tell let's say non-blockchain developer how to start, or what are the main pains or differences, is the first that you need to synchronize or to get a node. And you have to see the node as, let's say, infrastructure that will give you your own private API that is compatible with the API of our other nodes. So your application will be connected through the blockchain, through the node. The second one is understanding that in the case of RSK, you need to pay for the execution of whatever you are doing with the API, with something called Smart Bitcoin, that is the way that we measure gas. So it's not a matter of calling an API, and you will pay outside the same request, but you pay with the same request that you are doing or you are executing to the API, the API call itself. And well, we for solving this, you don't have to synchronize your node. You can use our public nodes. I think the documentation it's out there in the website and the different challenges. We have a testnet as well, so you can give it a try with, let's say, non-real money, so without using the real Bitcoins. And the other big difference is that you need a little bit of patience. Everything you do will be, you know, broadcasted to the network, mined and included in a block by the miners. So that takes time. So everything you do, you need. Yes, try to buy a toy or something to keep it in your hand while you wait for the transaction to be mined. But yeah, if I have to summarize the nodes, the synchronization of the infrastructure, that's very easily solved by using the public nodes, and a little bit of patience. But we are here to help. We suffered this before, and our job is to let developers go through and solve these kind of technical situations.
So if you're impatient, don't start to develop on blockchain.
if you're impatient, I recommend you to do some meditation and then wait for the block to be mined and include it to the blockchain.
Okay, maybe that's a good idea for a project, meditation. Okay, Tom, any thoughts on mistakes developers can do when they start with blockchain technology?
I'd like to reiterate what Alessandro said. I very much agree. The things such as like the time delays and getting your head around the transactions per second. Things are not instantaneous, and meditation or taking a walk or whatever it may be, or taking a power nap or whatever. It's a necessity sometimes, but also with things like on and offboarding. So if you have to transfer tokens from one blockchain to another, then this can take a lot of time, but don't worry, the transaction will get processed, but again, it's not an instantaneous thing. I would also say the code base that you are using, so whatever software you're using, whatever language you're writing in, especially with Solidity, the code base changes quite quickly. So you may find that something doesn't work that did work last week, and it might not be you, it might just be that the version of the software has updated. So have a quick check on GitHub, and bear in mind that the software has been written by very capable software developers. The software that you're using, that you're coding with, has been developed by guys with a lot of experience, and so check out the docs, read the documentation, maybe even reach out to developers, because they will often be more than happy to lend a hand. Like on Slack, there's a whole raft of information online, and things have been written to make it simple as well. So if you find yourself going around in circles trying to make something work that maybe should be quite simple, but you've got too many lines of code, then just meditate again, look at it again, and you'll often find you can find a function that's already been written for you. Just make sure to read the documentation or do some tutorials, and the answer is usually quite simple. Yeah, that's true. I think as we progress in time, right, I think more and more resources becoming available, and which I think is really, really good for the entire ecosystem. So completely agree with you there, Tom. Cool. As we approach the end of our session, I have one more last question for you, Laurence, which is decentralization comes at an increased cost. If you think about computation and storage, what makes it worthwhile?
Great question, that one.
Yeah. Yes, there is a cost. Although hardware is improving all the time. We're to the cost of storage and computation should be dropping. I think decentralization has the potential to radically change our society, and in ways that we're only just beginning to see. So I think the benefits may not be obvious now, but the fact that we can, you can be your own bank, and you can move away from very closed, proprietary, centralized systems, and gain control over your data and your computation. I think that is an amazing idea, and is well worth following.
Yeah, I completely agree. Couldn't agree anymore. I think there are some pretty good closing words for our last question. So I think we take away, we should meditate a lot when dealing with technology. So if you're impatient, really take a look at that. So I think this was really, really helpful. I hope that all of you here today took something away from this session and are now motivated to go on to the final sprint of your project development. We do actually encourage you to submit your project early. So obviously we and a few selected mentors could have a look at it and could advise you what you can do and guide you in the right direction. And so you obviously increase your chances of winning. So please reach out to us. Please submit your projects early, and we take a look at it. And you can always resubmit it before the 8th of November. So I think giving today, 30th of September, we're going to have another 40 days, right, before submission. This is a good 1.5 months. So really use that chance to submit your projects early. We won't judge the early submissions. We only look at it and going to try to help you in regards, what you can do in order to improve. Other than that, that's really it. If you have more questions, right, always feel free to ping either Antonio, Wade, or myself on Slack, email, and we try to get back to you as soon as possible to really help you to progress here. Finally, I would like to thank Laurence and Tom from Extropy, Gustavo from Blockchain from Humanity, Ali Bansas from IOB Labs, as well as Brandon from IOB Labs for joining us here and mentoring, and also for the access given. And with that said, thank you everyone for joining us today. This session is also recorded. So if you like to review it, we're going to share that link on Slack. And I wish you all a very pleasant rest of the day. Good evening for those in Asia, or good morning for those in South America and the United States.
Yeah. And I'd just like to add one last thing. If you are working on a particular project and you would like to have some kind of brainstorming session, this is something that Richard and I thought about the other day. We're more than happy to kind of put that together for you. So if you're looking for a particular mentor, whether it's on the legal side, technical side, and you want to do some brainstorming on a particular problem that you might be encountering on your project, just reach out to us, and we're more than happy to set up a call with you, with the relevant people, and that will hopefully uncover some of the answers that you're looking for. That is it from us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.